welcome to the Boopcast episode 50. We are your host SheNoob and...
Cory.
I pointed the wrong way! Wait! Why am I turned around? Oh, because it's Discord, that's why. Hi
Am
everybody.
I pointing the right way?
Yes? I don't know. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us. Apologies for being late. That's my fault. Soz.
Somebody may have fallen asleep.
Listen, I don't have an excuse.
I was so surprised too because you messaged me like exactly at 2:30 and I was like, oh good, she's up. And so I was just like getting ready and stuff. And then it was 2:45 and you hadn't hopped on yet. And then it was 2:50 and you hadn't hopped on yet. It was 2:55 and I was like, okay, where are you?
Yeah, basically, I woke up and I messaged you, and then I passed out. That's what happened. So
it happens to the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time I've done that, but I blame Twitter for keeping me up last night. I think I've had 4 hours sleep, so we'll see how we go. Yeah, it's not good. Also, I need to move my microphone closer. That would be good.
Are we getting directions from Larissa always?
No, because yeah, my thing was around the wrong way.
Oh well. On Discord, you're that way, but on the stream, you're that way?
Yep. You did better than me, because I normally point towards my flag. I'm like, Cory's towards my flag. But my fucking thing was around the wrong way on the stream. I've turned it around now. So, yeah. Ruby.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. Cory, you take over. I'm a mess.
Well, I mean, first we need to introduce our guest
yes!
for the episode.
Dan, hello. Dan's here.
Hello. Nice to be here. I think this is my 3rd time now with you guys.
This is your 3rd time. You've been on... How many seasons are we at? Season 4? You've been on almost
season 4,
almost every season. But yeah,
I think the first one I was there was the one that had the Ruby and Oscar chat that had the keep moving forward reference. And then I think the second one was oh god, what was it? It was when they were stealing the aircraft in Volume 6 with Maria with the peanuts or whatever it was.
Good episode.
Yeah, I remember you were later. I couldn't remember if you were 8 or 9 for that season though.
Yeah. I just like had to breeze through quickly, and I saw like the thumbnails. I was like, okay, so I remember that episode, and I remember that episode. So yeah, this is my 3rd time now.
It's funny because you were also supposed to be 8 this year, and then you ended up being 7 because they screwed us with the fucking break week this year. Okay, I'm mad. I want to talk about this for a second. I'm pissed off because last year they had the break week the weekend before Christmas, and we planned for the weekend after Christmas, so we had to move everything around last year. This year we planned for the weekend before Christmas, and it's the weekend after Christmas, so we had to move everything around again, and I'm angry.
I personally I wish it was last week because I was over in England. I would have had a lot less stress if I didn't have to balance doing videos on top of everything going on there. And of course, like the day that I went over to England was episode 5, I think it was. So I think that was the one with what was it? Was episode 5 the one with the kiss?
No, that was episode 6.
6.
Episode 6, right? And then I think it was the episode.
Reaction to 6.
Yeah, and then it was like
England for that one.
The episode afterwards is like, I've been through the ringer these past few weeks myself, so I'm kind of glad that we're getting into a break now, but I wish it was a little bit sooner.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, it just seems odd to have the break after Chapter 8, but I don't think that's arbitrary. I think they've done that on purpose, but we'll talk about Chapter 8 a bit at the end. So Dan, even though you've been on, twice before, for anybody who might not know, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Ruby, and what you do on YouTube.
Right. I'm the voice behind ThatKaitoDan. I gotta get that little spiel back in. And I've been doing reviews and reactions, basically any kind of usual typical Ruby content that you would see from most Ruby tubers. I've been doing it since volume 2 now. So I've been doing it for a while.
You're an OG Ruby tuber.
I'm the grandfather of the Ruby tubers. Careful. Beyond that, I do reactions for like other stuff that I've got an interest in, like Pokemon, Kingdom Hearts, any of the Nintendo Directs. Recently, I've been branching out into some theories, like my Oscar semblance theory. I'm hoping that comes true. And I also do like countdowns as well for like the chibis and all that. I'm also a frequent person in tons of streams out there. Like I'm the guy who makes all the bad puns in Arnold streams. Um, and yeah, I got into Ruby around the start of it, around the time of the trailers were each coming out. My friend introduced me to the Red trailer. She's big into Red versus Blue, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Rooster Teeth doing an anime. I dig it. I didn't know until much later on that it was Monty, and I was a huge fan of his Dead Fantasy series, and everything kind of snowballed from down there. Excited with every episode, wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh wow, you froze for a second there. Sorry. We were like, uh-oh, did we lose him?
Oh no, sorry.
No, it's all right.
And yeah, apologies, bad connections, typical with me as well.
You are up living in Spain these days, aren't you?
Yes, I think I'm coming up on 3 years now, maybe. I moved at the back end of, I think, God, I'm trying to think. I think it was 2018, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, I've been in Spain for a while now, getting used to things.
Really been
But
3 years. Far out. Good lord, that
I
went
don't know at this
fast.
point. I've kind of lost track with everything.
Yeah. Oh my god, that went so fast. Yeah, because that would be right. Because I think you moved to Spain just before you were on the podcast the first time. So that would be about right.
I mean, I've been growing up in England for most of my life. Never thought I would move to Spain. But here we are now. It's been a fun experience.
Yes. I always I like your Ruby sort of story because it's so similar to mine in that, like, you know, watching the trailers when they came out and like started doing, you know, Ruby videos very early on. And I feel like just about everybody we've had on so far this season has been like, I started watching in volume 3, I started watching in volume 4, and I'm like, that's valid, but I feel old.
No, trust me. Every time I see like a new like channel starting there, like from volume 1 where they've watched like the trailers and that, like Sirs and Madams, they've been a ton of fun watching recently, catch up with things. It's like I feel so old because I'm in that very weird area where, like, I remember when the Ruby and White ship was called Candy Cane. I remember
don't remind
the
me.
early days. I remember the early days was trying to find any kind of decent fan art, and then now we're at this point where the series has blossomed into something crazy, and I never thought we would get to this situation. Yeah, every single time, like it's almost like with every new episode, I think, wow, I still remember how I was feeling with the very first episode. It's been kind of crazy.
It has been insane. I keep saying, like, I don't know when Ruby got so mainstream, because I'm like, for me it feels like it happened overnight, and I'm like, suddenly everybody loves Ruby, and suddenly I'm like going to conventions and there's Ruby stuff there, and like I remember I went to a local convention with Larissa in the north of the state a few months ago, and we showed one of our Ruby AMVs there, and there were people walking past in the convention hall, and I heard one girl go, "Oh my god, it's Ruby!" I was like, how do you know the show? Like, what do you like? No, this is still a tiny show.
It's been crazy to imagine what this series has become, because we all thought at first it was just going to be like a decent, you know, little pet project. We didn't think it would become the kind of juggernaut where it is, and it's crazy to think. There's one thing that's crept up on me in the past couple of weeks, where next volume we're going to have episode 100.
Don't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't say that.
We are about to hit 100 episodes, and when you think of like any kind of web online creation hitting anything close to that, it is a very small group, and it's kind of crazy to imagine that at that point we are going to get to that point, and it's going to be insane to imagine.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's weird.
That is so weird. And like so many like massive animes don't even have that many episodes. So I'm like,
no, not at all.
I mean, are we talking episodes as in like the chapter, the fact that volume 1 had 16 episodes, or are we going by chapters? That's my question.
Strictly the mainline chapters, like none of the
There's
side
been 100
material
chapters,
stuff.
almost.
No, it's coming up to 100. I don't know which episode exactly in the volume, obviously because of like we don't know the episode count for volume 8, but to think that we are getting to that point where we can speculate on the fact that we're going to be watching 100 episodes. This is like, oh my god.
That's crazy. I'm curious what number this one is now. I'll have to look that up. But
I think we're getting close to the 90s.
Oh, yikes! Don't even say that. Oh my god, how have we seen almost 90 episodes of RWBY? What the fuck? This show's been going forever. So
And yet it feels like it started yesterday.
I know. I'm like,
exactly.
how are we in volume 7?
And we thought that maybe we would get to Atlas at like some early point, maybe, or whatever. We didn't think that we'd be getting to this point now as well. It's like we just started the Atlas arc and things are already going into skyrocketing levels of the narrative.
Yep. And I'm like, the show has been on for 8 years. 8. Like, how did that happen?
No.
Yeah, it's been 8, I think almost 8 years since the Red trailer came out. Yeah. So that is just insane.
I thought it was late 2012, so wouldn't it be 7 years, just over 7?
Oh, just over 7. Yeah, you're right. I keep thinking it's 2011 that it came out for some reason. Yeah,
either way, it feels like a crazy bullet train ride where it's gone fast, but it's gone slow. It's not gone long enough, gone too fast. It's like, ugh.
It's been insane. It really has. And like watching the show become something that's so mainstream has been bizarre. And it's done something very interesting to the fandom, which you've heard me talk a lot about already, and I'm not going to go back over again today.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, any kind of fandom that grows and gains more popularity, it's going to attract some stinkers, but that doesn't serve as a detriment to the achievements that this fandom, this show has, and I wouldn't be prouder to be a part of this community.
I'm proud to have been part of the reactor community for the time that I was, but at this point, it's like I've said, I feel like I picked the best year to retire from reacting to RWBY because it's been a mess this year. So November 5th, 2012, yeah. So anywho, let's talk about chapter 7. So this chapter there was a lot, but also I feel like this was probably the best written chapter of RWBY maybe at all ever.
Hello?
Hello? We can hear you.
Hello?
Sorry, I'm getting a bit of lag on my end.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Can you
Sorry.
hear us?
That might happen a bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Great. So I feel like chapter 7 might be the best written chapter of RWBY ever at all. It was just such a well written chapter, just with the dialogue and the pacing of it all, and the pacing, they're really nailing the pacing this volume. It's been so consistent of like, okay, this chapter's gonna be, a little more chill, and then this chapter's gonna be, everything's gonna come one after the other, and it's like they've really gotten the pacing right. Like nothing feels too slow and nothing feels too rushed.
There's very little fluff.
Yeah, there's very little fluff. They're making the most of their screen time, which has been really nice to see. And a lot of people complained in this chapter about the conversation, or rather the lack thereof, between Yang and Blake about Adam. And I'm like, I think they handled it perfectly. Like, I don't think there was anything else that needed to be said other than what they said. And it was just like, they know what happened and they're dealing with it in their own individual ways. And just, I think Blake sort of needed that reassurance from Yang that, we did what we had to do and we did have a choice. And, it's not like either of them is doubting the fact that they didn't have a choice. Because as Blake, says, next time she wants to make sure they don't have to go to that sort of extreme or that length. So
because it's not just the fact that they killed Adam, it's also the fact that they have taken a life in general. Obviously they were gonna expect, being a huntress, that they would have to fight some people, but they would have probably never even considered the fact that they would have to kill someone. And obviously the fact that it is Adam, I definitely agree that they handled this, at least for the first kind of real conversation about it, they've handled it perfectly. Because, yeah, you have had those people where you've said maybe they want it sooner, or maybe they want it to be a longer discussion, but these things need to take their time. You cannot rush a conversation like this, because you're rushing the characters into thinking, oh god, I gotta process this, where it's such a topic where you need feather steps on. You can't kind of bum rush it, otherwise you're going to get very dishonest, not just dishonest feelings, but also dishonest characters. And I think that would be a very huge detriment to Blake, Yang, and the topic itself, and even Adam. Because Adam, for all his faults, is a character that does need to be a respected topic, because it's such a huge part of so many arcs. And I think they handled it perfectly, where it's like they didn't like walk into a situation where it was like, okay, we're going to talk about this. It's like, no, this matters to them because it's affecting other things. Like, one of the best things I think about this episode is like there is so many discussions that are interwoven to other things. Like this topic with Blake and Yang, their feelings on Adam interwoves into their feelings on having to fight Robin. And then in like other scenes, we got Ren, his stance with Ironwood interwoven with Nora's feelings on what Ironwood is doing. There are so many strong links, and I definitely agree this is probably one of the most solid written episodes in terms of maybe this volume or even the series. And I definitely appreciate the work that's been put in by Eddie, by Miles, by Kirsty, by Kerry. It's been so stable, and that's impressive.
Yeah. Having Eddie and Kirsty on the writing team this volume definitely shows. The writing, the sort of quality of the writing has jumped exponentially from previous volumes this year. And I think it has a lot to do with taking the burden off of Miles and Kerry, because previously they've both been co-writing every volume together. And the volumes always seem to get to a sort of point where the writing, you could tell that it was becoming not an afterthought, but it was getting to the point where they were just sort of having to get it done. And that would show... It was becoming rushed. Yeah, it was becoming rushed. And now that we've got... we're into chapter 7, and the writing is still, that chapter was so well written. And also having Kirsty, I think especially on the team, is really helping to provide a female perspective on the writing, and it's really showing. And having Eddie there as well, Eddie's done such a fantastic job with the chapters he's written. Kirsty's done a fantastic job with the chapters she's written, and the ones that Miles and Kerry are writing are, it's showing that they're not having to bear so much of the responsibility of writing the entire volume. I'm going to be curious to see how we go in the later half of the volume, after sort of chapter 8, to see if the quality sort of stays at that level. And I'll be interested, just obviously to see how the volume's going to end, but what sort of quality we're going to have towards the end of the volume.
Especially as we move into what should be some more action-oriented moments, because we're getting the build-up, and that's been strong, which is fantastic, but can they balance that with the fights that are going to happen, the silent moments that is going to happen between each sequence? I think definitely having Eddie and Kirsty on has been a breath of fresh air that Miles and Kerry definitely needed. I know there was obviously some concerned feelings towards Kersey for some of her past work, which I guess that's kind of fair. But I think she's definitely helped in terms of, like you said, a female perspective. I think Eddie's helped for having someone who is experienced with Ruby, but it isn't in the constant machine, so that he's able to have an outside perspective and then come in. And for a volume that has depended a lot on very intricate discussions where there's not a lot being said, but there's a lot of emotions that you can read, that has been a fantastic job. And I tip my hat to the team so far.
Yeah, they've done an incredible job. And like when I think about volume 7, I'm like, so much has happened this volume, but that's also a lot due to the fact that there's been so much screen time compared to other volumes.
Yeah, it's been one of the best balanced runtimes.
Yeah, consistently 16 to 19 minutes per episode, really consistent. And it's been nice to have that consistency and know that every week we're going to get a chapter that has substantial screen time. And you know, we're not going to be left wondering, oh, is next week going to be 32 minutes or is it going to be 12? You know, because
I think we will hear some longer running episodes as they come in, but so far they feel like if they are saved for later on, it's warranted. Where maybe like I would say in like this episode, maybe it would have been nice to have a bit more of a longer episode so we could fit in maybe seeing what Yang and Blake were doing at the dance club and what Jean, Weiss, and Oscar were doing at the movies before the Grimm came in on their side. But at the same time, you could say they're not really needed elements of the narrative. You could still kind of imagine what would happen. Maybe as well, the volume is dependent a little bit too much on ending one episode with a Grimm attack, starting the next one with it being done. But those are very small complaints to a very, very strong chain of events between one episode to the next, where you don't feel bloated, but you don't feel starved for content.
Yeah, definitely. I was really expecting a very different opening to this episode to what we actually got, but at the same time, it made a lot of sense because I was like, I mean, we've seen them fight Grimm. We know how this is going to work. They're going to fight the Grimm are going to die, and that's going to be pretty much that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if they've decided it's not needed, then I'm going to trust that it's not needed in the narrative, and it just allows more screen time for the important things. So would this chapter have been as good if we spent half of it in a Grimm attack? No, probably not. So
it probably would have been visually entertaining, but it wouldn't have done anything towards the narrative. And we've seen from the fandom, that they can take these blank moments and make gold on their own, which that'll satisfy the itch for those who want it.
And like
but again,
said,
I've not felt starved.
Yeah, like you said, we can imagine what happened, and knowing the characters also, as well as we do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that skipping over the Grimm attack that happened kind of fits with almost the theme of the volume so far, where like the Grimm aren't really the problem this volume. Like the true problem is people. So it's like it almost feels like they don't want to be showing us these Grimm attacks because A, we know the girls can handle it, and B, it like kind of takes away from them being like, you know, even though the Grimm are a problem, but they aren't the problem of this volume. The problem is people.
I think it's good that we are being like saved on more Grimm fights since the first episode of the volume, because I think it's going to be important when we see the Grimm being fought, because that's going to be when Mantle has gone to shit, where Ironwood has made his biggest gambit, where Robin makes her biggest gambit, and of course Mantle is going to be caught in the crossfire. I think making us wait until that right moment when we do see some more Grimm action is going to make us care a lot more about those in the crossfire, those who may be up to danger. And then we will also have the benefit of having some entertaining fights where the budget is saved for it. And I think that would help out a great bit. Obviously, we've had some little interspurts of action with like the dust mine and some little bits of the training. But that's enough to like cater us for a little bit. It's kind of like we're being given a small sample of the meal that we're gonna get, and we're not in a rush to get it.
Yeah, and I feel like another thing they've gotten really right this volume as well on the subject of action is having a good amount of action woven in with the narrative where it feels correct, like where it feels like it's supposed to be there. I feel like in previous volumes, especially since volume 4, they've really struggled with like, oh, here's a chapter with a big fight scene in it, and now there's 5 chapters of literally nothing. And it's like, that was a recurring theme across volumes, and now I feel like they're doing a really good job of interweaving the action with the narrative. So we had the fight in the first chapter, and then we got the dust mine chapter 3. That was absolutely incredible. And like,
damn right, yeah.
Oh my god, I love that chapter. It's my favorite chapter of the volume so far. And the training, as you mentioned, with Team Funky, and that's been interwoven into a few chapters now. We've gotten a little bit of action, and then we had a little bit of action in this episode with Yang and Blake chasing down Robin. So well choreographed and animated. It literally lasts 20 seconds, but that is 20 seconds of gorgeous sort of
and you're able to get a good read of Robin for just that little bit before we see her, because we're gonna see her fight Tyrion at some point. That's being a given, even if you don't like take for the opening contents for granted. We're gonna see a fight like that, and it's good that we had this little sample to know what Robin is like. Where we know that she is just as skilled as you would expect for an academy graduate. And I also like as well, like, we saw the semblances for May and Fiona, and I like that we saw that, because it's not only it's making us care more about their skills as well. If it was just Robin is this super skilled huntress and the rest are just like mook level, then it kind of dampens the impact of the happy huntresses. Having 2 people with very high quality semblances, like, you may think like maybe taking these powers for granted, but a pocket power and an invisibility zone are vital powers for a world like Remnant. And even if they're not like on the same combat skill as Robin, those are still integral parts of the group. You got May blocking out any intruders from these thefts. You got easy access for the transport. We don't know what Joanna, I think it is. We don't know like what her power is, but you still feel like everyone's an integral part. And even in this just like small moment of action, we are getting a taste of the kind of person that Robin is as a fighter now, where we've had the build-up of her as the leader, as the representative for Mantle, as the thorn in the side for Ironwood. It feels like every puzzle piece put in so far is creating a clear-cut picture of what we can expect in the future.
Yeah. And I found it interesting too with the sort of cloaking thing. It seems like it's some kind of device, because Fiona's also using it on the truck, and then when she sort of pulls her hand up, there's some sort of circular thing in her palm that's glowing. So it looks like it's some kind of cloaking device, because the fact that both May and Fiona are using it makes me think that it is a device rather than a semblance, which is interesting. I don't know how that would possibly work. But
no, I wouldn't think it is.
Well,
I think that because they were different effects is the thing. Like,
yeah, they had a different effect, but the fact that they both sort of were glowing up their forearm, and then when Fiona's hand pulled up, there was a circular sort of glowing thing in the palm of her hand, and I just thought it looks like it's some kind of device.
Portal to like a pocket dimension or something. Because like she wasn't just making it invisible, because she had to physically get out of the car, because otherwise. Like, it seemed to me like she had to get out of the car, because otherwise, it would, when they got eaten up, she would have fallen to the floor. Like, she had to. So that's why I'm like, I don't think it was just invisible.
It is interesting.
No, I think if anything, it looked like we might have like had maybe a short shot of the truck into the portal, but it definitely looked more like it was a proper semblance. And I don't think that they would use Ted, because that would be dependent on dust. There's not a lot of it. Even like Robin's arrows, they didn't seem to have any dust elements to them. It just looked like sharp bullets that was let off as you would for a traditional crossbow. And there's no way that they can depend on the SDC. So, and I think they would also like have a moral issue of depending on dust right now.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It just seemed that way to me. It seems a bit strange that May would have a sort of cloaking semblance, and Fiona would also have a cloak, like some not a cloaking semblance, but yeah, like you said, it's some kind of transformative something.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to describe it.
I've got the image for it on my end, and it just looks like a straight up portal where maybe you're like catching like the end of the stream where it kind of makes like a line. It looks like that, but it's basically, if you've seen like Inuyasha,
Nope.
like Moroko's wind tunnel,
Nope.
or I guess for like another one, the villager from the Smash Brothers games, like how he pockets it. It's basically just like that.
Nope.
Oh, well,
I
good
don't
Lord, I hope
watch
you
anime
will.
and I don't play Smash Brothers, so.
Fiona
That's
is
fine,
just a
but-
big old bag of holding, is all she is, I think.
The way I see it, it's like she's stuffing items in like herself, kind of like where almost like she'd pick up stuff and they get stuck in the wall.
Yeah, phrasing, but yeah, no, it definitely. Yeah, you make a good point with the fact that she does jump off the truck, so it's like it is actually vanishing, not like, you know, just being cloaked, which is interesting. I don't get it, and I'm not gonna do it.
I think that her semblance is honestly the most useful of them all, because like I'm just imagining like in a fight in the future that like, you know, Robin's like Fiona, and Fiona just like lets out her hands, just like bombs fly out of these portals in her hands, like you know.
Seems so
and I'm
weird.
just like imagining this in my head, and I'm like, yes, this dangerous little girl, I love it.
It just seems so strange. I'm like, how does this semblance work? It's so confusing. I'm like,
To be honest, I'm just glad that Fiona's okay, because I was concerned for her.
I mean,
she's
I said
like
she'd
a
be
replacement
fine.
Velvet in a way.
Yeah. I was like, she'll be fine. And people were like, she's gonna die. I'm like, no, she's
Well,
fine.
it's because of like our history with Tyrion cuts. It's like we assumed there was a poison cut, but nah. Because obviously, if it was a poison cut, that wouldn't work for framing Penny. But yeah, I'm glad that she's okay. I do like the Happy Huntresses. I just don't like the name.
It's terrible.
Oh, after seeing their semblances, I really want to call them the Handy Huntresses, because they all use their hands. I'm like, they're the Handy Huntresses.
Can we
That would
please
be good,
recoin them as the Handy Huntresses, please? Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's so much better.
I'm such a huge Robin Hood fan. Like I've watched so many different like other media and all that, and obviously it's a play on Merry Men, and Merry Men is such a very campy term, but it's fitting for the time. Happy Huntresses does not really fit a rebellious group. It doesn't really fit Robin. The only one that looks genuinely happy is Fiona because she's a cute bean, but that's about it.
I mean, yeah, Happy Huntresses isn't campy, it's just bad. So
yeah. Well, no, I would say Merry Men is campy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but like Happy Huntresses isn't, you know, that level of campy. Yeah. It's just not good.
It feels like a nickname. It feels like a nickname that Forrest gave the group, and it's stuck in like the public ear. But there's like an official group, like I don't know, Robin's Flock or something like that. But yeah, I don't know, like Wings of Freedom. I don't know. It's just something that doesn't really fit.
It's not Attack on Titan. It may turn out that way though.
I'm just saying.
Everybody's gonna die. And he guesses for the Merry Men references.
Fiona Thyme is Friar Tuck, because that's the same initials. May Marigold is Maid Marian, because Marigold kind of fits in that as well. And Joanna Goodleaf is Little John, because she's the biggest, and also I believe Goodleaf was a nickname that Little John used in some fiction.
Right, yeah.
I told you I know this stuff.
He does his research. I just can't be bothered.
Also, on the topic of one of them, shout outs to Caden and May Marigold as the first trans character.
Yeah, because I remember
really
we
cool.
talked about this last week, saying that maybe May's trans because Caden's trans, and that would make sense. But we were all thinking that it was Joanna because she is, you know, really tall and has short hair and like. But you know that was
like more masculine looking than the rest of them.
Yeah, more masculine looking.
She's just butch representation.
Yeah, that's which I love.
The muscle.
But yeah, now looking at May in this chapter, I'm like, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I can see that for her, and the fact that she.
Well, I was gonna say the reason at first I was like, I don't know if I necessarily see May as trans, is because a lot of the like big popular trans theory around her was that she was Henry who had transitioned.
Which no,
right.
It doesn't fit for the timeline.
Nah.
It doesn't fit for what we know. It just doesn't fit. But like, you know,
No, I think
now
Henry
knowing
loves
it's
women too much
removed.
to become one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we were initially thinking perhaps she was his sister, but now we know that she's his cousin, which is interesting because I don't look that much like my cousins.
No.
That is like
It,
once removed, kind of like.
I mean,
they look
granted,
like
it is just like the
siblings.
hair in the eyes, but still.
Yeah.
That's all you have in RWBY, though, when you're talking about how much people look alike.
Yeah.
Like,
And you
look
kind of
at
need
Summer
that
Rose
for
and
the
RWBY,
animated
like,
characters.
no, they have the same color eyes. They must be related.
Yeah, and
'cause all they've
I
got
do
to work
hope
with.
that we hear from Henry. I do hope that we hear from Henry because one, I like Alejandro, fantastic dude. And two, I want Weiss to get another moment of just sticking right to him. But yeah, I mean, it's great that May is the first trans character in the series. Obviously, there's all the complaints that you would get of like, could it have been a bigger character? Could it have mattered more to the main narrative or the character's narrative? To which I'd say, yeah, maybe, but that doesn't discredit what we've got. Especially, like I put like a huge rant tweet. It is so rare to get not only trans characters in animation, but healthy characters like that.
Yeah.
You get like usually when you get trans characters, sometimes they play for laughs. Like South Park, I'm sure, has got like a buck a ton, and they do make the jokes about it that you would expect.
That's South Park,
which
though.
which works, yeah.
Yeah.
Works for South Park, even is a bit raw.
Yeah.
But it's good to have at least something like this, and I'm just happy for those who obviously take the more personal gains from this. And again, could it have offered more? True, but to say that overrides what we get is insulting a bit, is a bit shameful, and it doesn't need to be big.
No.
It just needs to matter, and it just needs to be good. Just like with getting our first LGBT character or our first black character or anything of that sort. It doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be respectful.
Yeah, and it just needs to be there as well. And it's like it's not the main focus of her character, but it's a part of her character,
No.
and it's a canonical part of her character, and somebody for trans people to see and relate to and feel represented by. And that is so incredibly rare, especially for the trans community in animation, in media in general. It just doesn't happen.
Exactly.
They just don't get... Trans people don't see representation in general media. And it just... It's like... It's slowly getting there with same-sex representation, bi representation, so slowly getting there. But trans is just something that you just don't see.
It should be faster. It should be more frequent. But people who obviously want this understand that it's a bit of a process. It's hard to change the minds of so many people. It's so hard to get that healthy representation. And I'm sure that they are grateful for even this much.
Yeah.
And yeah, doesn't need to be bigger at the moment. It just needs to be good. And so far, it's good.
Yeah, it is good. And I think Rooster Teeth have seen this opportunity that they've had to... Well, not Rooster Teeth, but the showrunners have seen the opportunity that they've had to include this representation for the trans community. And they've taken the opportunity where it felt right to do so. And, you know, offering Caden a part and making that character trans and just...
And I'm so happy for Caden as well because they're a big fan of the series as well. They put out the tweet about like breaking down after the first recording session. It's just like that's special in its own right as well. And I love that when we get people who are so willing to put so much passion into their craft in whatever regards, but in something special like this, it just puts a smile on your face. And I'm happy for that.
It's so special for Caden too, because for somebody who has transitioned so much in the public eye, especially with the Rooster Teeth community, who...
Oh god, yeah, I still remember the first time like seeing Caden. They were like an alumnus of Achievement Hunter, And yeah, when you have such a big public presence in such a large community like the Rooster Teeth community, I'm sure it's very tiring, very stressful at some points. But moments like this make it so much worth it. And
Yeah.
I'm very happy for her, very happy for the character. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good for Kaiten. Yeah, I'm really happy for her, and the trans community to have that kind of representation in a show like RWBY is really important. Regardless of how focal that representation is, it's important for it to be there and to exist in the first place.
Yeah.
Because that opens up the way for other media and other anime to do the same thing. Or it actually, what it does is it demands for other media to do the same thing. Because if a show that's as popular as RWBY is doing it, why isn't everybody else doing it? So I think RWBY is going to force other media to catch up. And that's something really important, that even a few pieces of media open up that discussion and open up that sort of section for there to be this kind of representation, it's forcing, people will look at other media and go, well, why don't you have LGBT characters?
Yeah.
Because RWBY's doing it.
If you can't bust the door open on the topic, at least open it a little bit for someone else to pass through. Yeah. And I think it's good stuff.
And as you mentioned, healthy representation is the important thing as well. And it's like so many times you'll get representation from characters who are extremely toxic and have toxic relationships and die and on screen, and it's like that's not what we want to see at all. That does
Especially
not normalize us.
Yeah, especially in anime.
Anime's really bad about it.
Yeah. I think anime has, because it comes from a different culture.
That's another hurdle to cross. Is like so many hurdles to pass through, but to get this much is good.
It's definitely that it definitely hasn't caught up culture wise with regards to normalization of LGBT and characters that fit within that as well. But yeah. So it's really nice to see. I'm happy for the trans community that they get to see somebody like May in a show that is so well loved and so popular.
For sure.
Yeah, the only criticism I thought that was maybe a bit valid about the way they went about doing it was, like just telling us, and people are like, well, could you have told us like in the show? But the more because I was talking about it with other people, and the more I talked about it, the more it was like, no, there is really no good way to do this.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to dead name her, because that's really shitty, and we don't want them to focus on the transition aspect of it, because that's
I'm sure that was something that they would have had to discuss when they were first conceptualizing it. And sure, maybe it's like diverting the issue to have this offhand, easier way to do it, which you can understand. It is such a sensitive topic. You kind of need to either do it in this kind of manner where you do it out of the product, or you hit every nail on the head when you do discuss it. And not just in terms of like how it's discussed, but like in the flow of the main narrative as it is. I can't see any way that they could openly discuss this without it feeling like, oh, by the way, I'm trans.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like, no.
I'm like, where could they possibly fit that in the show? That's like, this is why they've told us out of the show, because it's going to be a lot, exactly like you said, like the only way they could possibly do it is by, either May pointing it out herself or through somebody discriminating against her. And nobody wants to see
RWBY
that.
is a show we haven't, like, I think, was it Cal who brought this up? But, like, RWBY as a show doesn't really have, like, societal gender issues.
Doesn't
from
seem
what we
to.
can see.
Not so much,
Because, like,
no.
men and women seem to be treated fairly equally. So it's like, you can't even, like, address it from that angle. So it's like, it would just be too hard for them to do. So, like, plus also, I think, honestly, just having her voiced by a trans person is honestly just a good step in the right direction, because it's a trans person representing a trans person. Like,
Exactly.
And another thing is, like, we've seen, like, obviously we're starting to get more characters where we see, oh, they're gay, or they're bisexual, or they're lesbian. And just off the top of my head, I can't think of any instance where they've said like, "Oh, I'm gay," or "I'm lesbian," or "I'm bisexual." We've seen them react and interact with other people in ways that you would start to understand that. Like where I think like with Scarlet, yeah, well, yes, yes, yes. I think that's like a big one. But yeah, like Scarlet, I remember is like I have no interest in girls was like a bit brought up in one of the like anthologies. It's like okay, that's cool, and it was paid for like a little bit of a joke, but it's like it wasn't so much like demeaning towards his sexuality. It was just like, oh yeah, you're asking the wrong person for this kind of. It's like when Blake said wrong tree when Neptune started to
Wrong
flirt with
tree.
Ilya.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's making light of the situation, but it's not making light of the sexuality. And I can't think of any instance in the show where they've had to bluntly state it. Like even in the book, when we started to know about Coco liking girls, like we found out about it by her describing her fascination with girls and like people that she was attracted to, as you would expect when you're like talking about straight crushes. Like, oh, I've got an interest in the girl because I like her, this, and that. It's very natural so far, and I think that's another credit towards how they represented these different sexualities and stuff like that. I think they've handled it very strongly so far. Even going way back with Pilot Boy, they didn't want to openly state it in the show because they knew that he would die very soon, and they didn't want their first openly gay character to die so soon straight away. And that's where they had the mention of it outside the media, where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm glad you did it that way. That was better than doing it in the show, where maybe it would have been more natural.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the complaints raised about like how this for May has been fair for a centimeter of it, but it's like when you look at like the other side of the topic, it is the best way they've handled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way they could handle it within the show for it to make sense.
Because as much as it is good to get the representation, you still need to focus on telling the main narrative. You still need to tell the story. And if you are having these diversions where you like have to pump the brakes a little bit to do this stuff, it's a detriment towards not just the moment itself, but to the story.
And what Ruby's gotten really right with LGBT representation is that it doesn't just come out and say, pardon the pun, and say, you know, people don't just be like, don't be putting themselves into categories, but they have been giving us hints through visuals and through cues from the characters themselves. And one of the biggest ones I can think of is back in the Adam character short, when there's that, when Blake and Adam are talking on the rooftops, and every time there's a shot of Blake, in the background you can see pink, purple, and blue in the background, the bi-flag colors. And I was just like, okay, I see you there. I see that bi-flag in the background. Okay, hint taken. And it's little things like that that sort of give us the clue. And also the fact that she dated Adam and is now fawning over Yang as well. And it's like, it just normalizes it so well in that it's not making a big deal out of the fact that, oh, she had a relationship with a man, but now she's looking like she's going to have a relationship with a woman, because it's normal.
It's worth to remember as well. There was a quote from Monty, I think, during an AfterBuzz interview where he said, like, we are going to have this content, but the girls are going to be discovering themselves. They're going through not just their normal lives, but they'll start to discover these romances. I can't remember the quote exactly, but it's that general idea of like, they don't need to drop these in straight away for a lot of these characters, because it's better to do it as it feels natural to the character and the narrative. And yeah, props to how they've been handling it so far.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about LGBT rep on the show every week this volume, because there's just been so much. There's been so much to talk about, especially with Crow and Clover and Yang and Blake, and now May as well, and I think Chose has asked, do you think they may all be different LGBT plus representations, meaning the Happy Huntresses? Robin is 1,000% a lesbian. She has massive top energy. I'm just gonna say that right now. Her and Fiona are getting it the fuck on. Don't tell me anything otherwise.
They did have a very intimate moment on the stage.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
I just like the fact that we've got all these like different LGBT characters and their relationships, and at the moment, the biggest relationship drama that the fandom is getting worried about is with a straight one that we've all been supporting since they debuted.
I
What
know!
the hell is going on with Ren and Nora?
Renora's up shit creek! And I'm like, what's going on there? Like, what's happening to our straight ship now? It's fucking...
It felt like the ship was finally hitting the good waters, but then, nope, oh, we got a hole in the ship.
And do you know, I've got a hole in my bloody Streamlabs OBS not my Streamlabs OBS, my OBS right now, because it's... But there I am.
Oh no.
My my webcam disappeared for some reason. Sorry.
That's fine.
That's fine. I got it back. Hello. So what the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah,
Ren and Nora.
Yeah, not good. So the fact that like they've been at odds sort of all volume, Ren's been kind of a dick for no discernible reason until he sort of talked about it last chapter. And that he was, worried, and I feel like he's scared, and like he's doing a heckin' concern about him and Nora and their relationship, and then they have that gorgeous moment with the kiss, and everything what goes to shit immediately after, and now
The
this
ship
chapter,
is still we're in good times.
yeah, and then this chapter they seem to be on utterly different pages altogether, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
and like
it's concerning.
It's concerning.
It's concerning, but at the same time, I can't help but like it. It's very compelling stuff, and I think it's probably one of the most compelling elements to their characters since maybe Volume 4, with obviously the Ren's backstory. Obviously, there's been some people raising some irksome comments in regards to Ren, like his mindset, and it's like, yeah, it's very sudden. But then you have to keep in mind that we need to consider the timeline of things. Sorry. When Ren first found out about the Salem truth, they had to immediately focus on getting the transport. Then they end up in Atlas, and then they start to focus on the condition of Mantle. In the background, I'm sure Ren has had these moments where he's trying to process, oh god, we're going up against an enemy that we don't know if we can defeat. And I'm thinking back as well to one quote from the flashback with his dad. I think it was just like, sometimes taking no action is, like the best approach is like taking no action at all.
No, sometimes the worst action to take is taking no action at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's driving Ren forward. It's like, I'm gonna push myself forward to get stronger, to find some way to stop Salem, and that's where he's had to bottle himself now from everything else. So it does feel kind of sudden in the fact that it's like, oh, we've gone from the Ren that we've known for so long to suddenly this guy who's like very disconnected from everyone, including Nora. But we need to keep in mind this like the short time span since the Salem truth. And I'm also very, very glad that the Ren kiss with Nora didn't wash away his concerns, because that I think would have been very insulting to his concerns. Because the matter wasn't about his feelings to Nora. I think we've kind of all known what his feelings were for Nora for a long time now. But the matter was, he's afraid of losing those people that he cares about again. He's worried about losing people like he did his mother and his father. And then obviously we got this situation now where Nora had such a strong scene. I am so blessed to see that moment, because I've always known, I love the fact that Nora has always been this person where, yeah, she's the comedic relief. But if you look back on like moments like Practice What You Preach, Pyrrha, or when she gave Jean and Pyrrha time alone, Nora, for as much as she's a very airhead goofball, she is a mature girl. She can read social situations very well. She understands when people need support. She's willing to give support when she needs to, like with the slap to Ren in Volume 4. Nora is not a dumbass. She is very smart. And it's so good to see her stand up for the people of Mantle because of her experiences.
Yeah.
she is the best person to speak up for Mantle from the main group. And now, of course, we've got this situation where Ren and Nora are on different sides. And I'm very fascinated by it. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. I'm not throwing up arms saying like, "Oh, this is insulting to their relationship. This is insulting to their characters." No, it's like it feels compelling. It feels natural. It feels positive in a way, even if it is a bit of a negative situation.
Sorry, I think there's a plane going overhead. It's so loud. What is going on? What the fuck is that? That is the strangest sound I've ever heard. It sounds like a toy plane, but 100 times louder. It's so weird.
Oh.
That was really bizarre. Sorry. So Chozo just said at least after they kissed someone else died. That's atrocious. How dare you?
Oh.
How freaking dare you? That's absolutely atrocious. Yeah, Nora's scene here, as you said, was so incredibly strong, and I love watching Samantha Ireland get to really play to how good of a voice actress she is, and Nora having some actual feelings towards how the people of Mantle are being treated, especially because they're so disenfranchised and downtrodden, and she's come from a similar sort of background. And, she's just so frustrated with the fact that General Iwood seems to keep pushing and keep pretending like Mantle isn't going to blow up in his face if he keeps pushing this like agenda that he has. And she's trying to drill through the wood and it's not working, and she's just meeting concrete on the other side, and she's like, you literally can't do this, because if you do, it's gonna blow up in your face. And
it's not just the fact that he's putting Mantle into the crossfire. He knows he has dropped the ball big time with Mantle.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that his public image is in the dirt. He knows that people aren't happy with some of his actions. But he keeps on putting them into the crossfire because he keeps on looking towards the needs of the many.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a very powerful quote where you do sometimes need to think of the many. But that doesn't mean that you gotta drop the few into the dirt and just let them rot.
Yeah.
Like, one of the biggest failures he's done so far is not upgrading the Mantle network. Like, I'm sorry, you are a very intelligent Ironwood. You are a very sharp man. But after having the network hacked in Beacon, not in your own kingdom, but in Beacon, and you don't think to make sure that all network in your own kingdom is safe, that is bonehead stupid. And I'm sorry, you deserve a little bit of backlash for it, because it is going to come back and bite you hard. We know that.
He does not think things all the way through. He is so, I need to do something now. Okay, what's my options? Here, let's go with this one. And it's like, he's not doing it arbitrarily, but he isn't thinking it all the way through. It's like, yeah, sure, you can do that, but then that's going to cause this to happen, and you clearly haven't thought about that. And it's like, he's pushing and pushing and pushing against Mantle, and they're gonna push back. They are already pushing back. And
especially
it's like,
when he knows that one of his biggest part of his plans is having Mantle, like, calm down after the immediate backlash of finding out about Salem.
Yeah.
He knows that the Grimm is going to be a thing, and he knows that he's going to have to come in and protect them. And if he thinks that coming in and protecting Mantle is going to wash away all the bad, ill, the blood, the sweat, and the tears, if he thinks that's going to happen, he is completely disconnected from his humanity. And that's obviously, like, the big theme of Vinewood's arc. Is like, he's becoming the Tin Man, a man who is so cold and distant from being a normal human that his heart is starting to, like, break away. And it's like, I want Ironwood to realize this before it blows up in his face, but it's already feeling like it's too late.
It's too late. It's way too late.
He's not going to be able to make up for this. The only way that people are going to trust Atlas in some capacity is through the actions of Weiss. I think she is going to be the big part that connects Atlas and Mantle together, as well as, like, the actions of Blake and Yang, chatting to Robin herself. But it's not going to be through Ironwood, and I kind of fear what his reaction will be when he does find out that for all his failures, other people are starting to make their own plans,
Mm.
and I'm worried about that backlash. But he is so he's a very flawed individual.
Yeah.
And for as good as a man that we know he can be, he desperately has failed not just Mantle but his kingdom.
Mm. And Full Metal's saying that he's someone who believes his way is the only way, and that really shows through in this chapter especially, where he's just like, he reduces to being like, this is what we're gonna do I make myself clear? And it's like, and you can see how conflicted Ruby and Nora are, and you see how conflicted Blake and Yang are, that they actually disobey their orders and go off and tell Robin things that they shouldn't be telling her. And
we also saw the looks from Clover and Winter as well, where they almost seem like unsure of things. That is important as well.
When Nora was shouting at Ironwood, they sort of gave each other a look in the background, and you can see that they're conflicted and they have doubts as well about whether this line that they're pursuing, whether this is the right thing to do. And it's like, I understand that he's trying to do what he thinks is best, but he is going about it completely wrong, and it's going to blow up in his face. And he is just so focused on preventing what happened at Beacon from happening to Atlas that it's going to happen because he's going to force it to happen by what he's doing. And it's like, you know, that thing about meeting his destiny on the path he's trying to take to avoid it. And, like, he's just going about this all wrong. He's going to turn his own kingdom on himself. And, like, the fact that Tyrion and Watts are there screwing everything up is not helping. But the foundations were there already by how Ironwood has been treating Mantle and the dictatorship that he's formed within Atlas and Mantle. And, like, he has done this to himself. He has paved the way for Tyrion and Watts to come in, kill a few people, and screw everything up. And it's like, it was already to that point where it just needed that little push over the edge. And his response is to be like, all right, let's arrest Robin. And I'm like, dude! No,
dude. One of his another big flaw for him is like, he's got this whole thing about trust, which is understandable, because especially after what happened in Beacon. But he's only trusting people in terms of information. He's trusting them as like, the secrets that I have, the plans that I have, I'm willing to tell these people because I need someone I trust, especially with no Ospid, no Glinda, none of the other teachers. But he doesn't trust other people to give their take on things. Like, I'm not sure if it's like been discussed at all, but like, has he ever tried to talk with Robin before? Has he tried to build some kind of connection with Mantle? Like, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say and I'll try to make up for it. No, it feels like every decision he feels he has to make, no one else. And that's where his biggest flaw so far is. Like, he won't trust Robin. He's trusting the other heroes as much with information, but he's not letting them make any kind of big decisions, especially after this outburst with Nora. The only person that he's kind of willing to trust is Oscar, but that's only because he's the reincarnation of Ozpin. Like, even seeing so much, he sees him as Ozpin 2.0, not Oscar.
Yeah.
And that led to a very great scene for Oscar. That's going to be where Ironwood's, obviously, we all expected to happen. Ironwood is going to flip when he finds out about the secrets that Ruby has kept, the behind-the-scenes plans that Yang and Blake have made, well-intentioned plans, but still behind-the-scenes plans. He's going to be upset when he hears about his tech being used again. He's going to be so conflicted with everyone around him, where he's going to be in this mindset where I'm the only one who can do this. I'm the only one who can protect my kingdom.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well,
you're not letting anyone else in.
Yeah.
Oscar literally said that, like, the path he's on is that he's the only one with all the information, and he's the only one.
Yeah.
He has all the answers. I'm the one. Like, you know, it's like, no, you need to learn to, like, I mean, like, he has a very good circle of confidants and good people.
In fact, he's got more confidants than Ozpin does.
Yeah, and he's not taking advantage of them or asking for their input. He's just ordering them around, and they're not going to stand for that for too much longer. And we're already seeing the conflict between him and teams Ruby and Junior. And, like, the fact that Yang and Blake have gone in this episode, and Blake's been like, I don't want to do this, and Yang's like, well, maybe we just shouldn't. And it's like, should we really be following these orders if we don't agree with them? And it's like, they're huntresses. They're not soldiers. They literally don't actually have to obey what he says. And they've gone and decided...
That's the good thing there.
Yeah, they've gone and decided for themselves that, no, actually, we don't think this is right, and we're not going to do this, because this is bullshit. And it's like, yeah, it is bullshit. You go off. You go do that. If you think that's what you should do, then do it. Like... They don't have to listen to him, and they can all see how quickly he is devolving into this massive dictator. And even Oscar tries to sort of tell him that, essentially, and be like, well, you think I'm Ozpin, so maybe you'll value my opinion. You're being a dickhead, essentially, is what he's telling him. And Ironwood completely discounts
that's the best thing about Oscar's... No, you first.
Oh, yeah, Ironwood completely discounts that. And he's like, we have to stop Salem. And I'm like, what's going to happen when he finds out that they can't? Because I'm like, what's he going to do then? He's going to be out of excuses for the things that he does. So what is going to be... Yeah, what's going to be the fallout from that? Because I'm like, he's going to learn about that eventually. And, literal fallout, but what's pissing me off most of all about Ironwood than anything, especially in the scene in the vault, is the fact that he keeps treating Oscar like he's not a person. Like, he's treating him like he's Ozpin, and I'm like, he's a 15-year-old kid. And it's like, you are like saying things to him like eventually you won't even know who's who anymore. And Oscar's like, cool, love that for me.
And the only time that he actually takes Oscar for Oscar is when he says, like, I trust you, but I trust other people. Yeah. It's that moment was like, it's such a striking comment to him. It's like, okay, you know what? You do sound a bit like Ozpin. And even then, that's still a bit of a kick towards Oscar. But it's good that Oscar was both, like, considerate of Ironwood's feelings, because he could easily see that he's affected by his failures in Beacon and not wanting to become like Lionheart, but he's not afraid to be critical. That's the best thing about that moment, where it's like he balances it well.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that Ironwood needs more, because he's prone to listening to people who is able to balance that way. I doubt he took much of Nora's comments to heart, because she was so striking towards him.
Yeah.
And it was very fortunate in the end that his Oscar's comments coincided with the letter that he got from Jacques.
Yeah.
Because it worked out great.
Also, the other thing that I noticed about Ironwood, with the way he speaks to Oscar, is when he's referring to things that Oz has done, he says you. And it's like, no, that's Oscar. Different person. Okay? Get it through your fucking head. You're annoying me now. Stop.
Yeah. I think he's doing it that way because he's trying, like, his goal is very clearly, we gotta get Oz out of that head. Yoo-hoo, Ozpin, we're talking about you.
Yeah, but he's completely discounting this kid who's right in front of him and is a person and is his own whole self. And it's like, it's almost like he's seeing him, it's like, it comes off as him seeing him like an object for which to sort of pass Ozpin through and be like, this is my conduit for, that's the word I want, conduit for Ozpin. And it's like, no, that's a fucking person.
I think it says a lot about Ironwood, that even with this huge group of people that is willing to speak with him, to discuss these things, he is so desperately trying to bring back Ozpin, because that was the biggest person who could, like, give him the compassionate side, but also give him the critical side. And then again, he's like so fixated on that he'll overlook Oscar to get Ozpin back. And it's just like, you desperately need a helping hand, Ironwood, but you are shooting yourself in the foot with so many people here helping you, and you're not willing to listen. You are so burdened by what you have done and what you have failed to do that you are so afraid of trusting people again. And it's like I think of it as like Lionheart was so consumed by his fear that he became submissive. Ironwood is so consumed by his fear that he's becoming antagonistic. Like he's becoming someone who is he's not he's pushing back, but you can push back sometimes with like you fall down on your own face.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's saying like, I'm not gonna end up like Lionheart. I'm like, no, you're not. You're gonna be worse. Like you're gonna end up not a pawn of Salem. You're gonna end up like Salem. And that's way more scary than anything that Lionheart did. Because Lionheart
especially
was a coward. So,
like, especially when Ruby also points out that, like, yeah, this is one of Salem's major plans: divide and conquer. It's like, yeah, you should know, especially as a general, because that's a very big, like, war tactic. Divide and conquer is gonna be your downfall. So stop feeding into it.
Yeah. And when Nora sort of like throws that back in his face, being like, if you go down this path, you're just going to trade all of these problems you have now for even bigger ones, being the Grimm and Salem. And his response to that is to sit down and put his head in his hands like it's all too hard and you can't think about it.
It was a cold ass stare as well beforehand.
Yeah.
It's almost like,
so
how dare you?
Yeah. It's like his response to people telling him, you can't do this because it's going to cause this to happen, is to shut down and be like, I can't deal with, or I can't think about this. And
he clearly knows that he needs support.
Yeah.
He clearly knows that he needs support, but his trust level so far is, again, only on an information level. He is not willing to trust people to make their calls, to shoulder the burden for him. And that is going to come back, bite him in the backside huge, especially with whatever happens in the next episode.
Yeah. I think at this point, everybody that was in that room, apart from Ironwood and Ren, is doubting. And I think Ren's biggest thing at the moment is that he's just relishing the opportunity to just be a soldier and not have to think or make decisions about anything and just do what he's told.
Yeah.
And whereas
he's willing to grasp onto that because that, so far, it seems like, depending on Ironwood's plans, is like the only surefire thing they've got right now.
Yeah.
They can't think of any other kind of plan. Whereas Nora is saying, like, no, we need to think of other options where there's not so many negatives. Which, again, very understandable on both sides of the debate.
It's kind of like the optimist versus the pragmatist.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. Especially with Ren being so not so strong with his words. That's going to be very interesting. And I really am looking forward to Neef performs that. Because I think he's been doing great with his voice work as well. But yeah, it's like, this is such a huge web of like trust and distrust. And yeah, sure, all sides have made some bad calls. Like Ruby, her secret gambit, very well intentioned, but it's not paying off. And that's the best thing about Yang and Blake's plans. Like, okay, we'll make our own call. Because I think it was good that they did all agree that, yeah, we need to hold back a little bit because we're not sure on Ironwood's reactions, especially with his habit of doing it in the past. But it's good that these guys are willing to think for themselves. That is, they're showing what Ironwood should be doing, able to look at other avenues, looking at other options, and actually putting in the damn effort to speak with Robin. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good for that. I like the fact that, of course, now we got Robin, who is a bit understanding of the situation. Which, by the way, shout out to Yang bringing in the puns, handy semblance. I love that. And it's good to see. Okay, maybe not everyone likes that. Hey, I like me some puns. But it's good now that we got Robin starting to. There's a bridge being built with Robin involved, even if it isn't Ironwood involved, because I think now we're starting to get into the situation where, okay, if Ironwood's going to become a detrimental figure himself, we need Ruby's group. We need to get all these other players in. We need to get Robin in. We need to get some of the Aesops in, perhaps. I was also wondering, like, where the hell was Jean in the opening scene?
Yeah, he wasn't in this episode. at all.
Yeah, I think he must have got like food poisoning from the cinema. Because I thought that was weird that he wasn't there.
casseroles.
He wasn't in this episode. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder where he's at.
Oh, and by the way, what's your guys' reaction to all the talk of like, Ren is Neo in disguise?
Oh my god.
People just want Neo to show up so bad, and I'm
I think that's a big part of it.
Just wait. She'll show
be
up.
here. She'll show up. Look,
Yeah,
Jessica Negri just
she'll
recorded
pop
lines.
up in.
They'll be here in like chapter.
They'll pop up in like the
12.
volume credit scene. But yeah, it reminded me so much of the Pyrrha smirk from Volume 3. It's like, guys, not everything needs to be a twist, and it also is, again, you're kind of dismissing Ren's actual emotions there, and the crumbs that you would take is like, it's like Ren can't speak. Neo can't speak, so Ren won't be able to speak in disguise, and like covering over an eye, he's kind of been like that for the whole time as well, in some sense. Like, nah. Yeah, fair credit to trying for looking like at different avenues, but nah.
No. Yeah.
No.
Also, like every time we've seen Neo in disguise before, she still looked like Neo.
Yeah.
Just like
she's not a shapeshifter. Like
no.
Like she's an illusionist, not a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
But like every time we've seen her, like you said, in something different, it's still her. Like it still looks like her. You can still tell it's her. But like
the only person that could do that would be Emerald, because she did that created the little girl, and even then that kind of looked a bit like Emerald during the attack on Amber. But it's like, no, Neo is not even close to this situation. And like, how would even Neo grab Ren, know that would be a good person to take, and know to be in this situation? It's like,
also, why is she biding her time like this? That's not Neo's style. Like,
no.
Yeah, they're gonna show up at some point, and it's gonna be a big deal, and we're all gonna freak out. But they're not gonna do it by having her secretly be like, "Wahaha, I was Ren for the last 4 chapters."
Yeah, that's so dumb.
Like,
no,
that's not how they're gonna do it.
It's gonna be another Volume 5 moment where they just walk in and they're just like, "Hello, boys and girls," and it's like, "Oh, fuck these two again." But like,
if anything, they're gonna be the volume stinger, I imagine, because I think this volume is gonna end with like the situation with Atlas and Mantle. And then next volume is going to be, okay, we need to prepare ourselves for the next attack by Salem and that. That's another thing as well. We learned about the relic, and already I am waving all kinds of red flags.
Oh my god, yeah. The fact that they showed us this vault, told us that the Staff of Creation holds up Atlas, I'm like, and Atlas is gonna come falling down.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying
I
this
kind
whole
of
time,
thought that
it's gonna fall.
This whole time, yeah.
Yeah. I've always been thinking at the moment that we saw it last volume when it was like, oh, you're like holding it by suspension with these like ropes. Of course, we all thought it was gravity dust at that point. Just like, I've watched too many fictional materials like, floating island, that stuff is going down. And it also made me think about the fact that like before the volume started, my poster with the Amity Arena kept falling down a lot. I was like, symbolism.
That's the universe telling you that something's gonna come down.
And of course it's Amity Arena falling down, and not Amity Arena falling down, but Atlas was like, okay, now that you say that, it's going to happen no matter who's in control, which kind of makes me worried because I think Ironwood might be responsible. I think he is going to be at his last gaps like, screw it, I need to reconnect the world. I am going to do what I must. And if Mantle needs to suffer for it, then so be it. Take the staff and power up Amity Tower. Atlas comes down. And people get pissed.
Yeah. I'm wondering how that would be possible though. Like what's going to happen with the Winter Maiden is a big factor in that. Is like is it going to be Winter, or is it going to be somebody else completely, or like they can't get into the vault without the Winter Maiden. So what is going to happen there will determine how the Staff of Creation is going to be removed from where it is.
Because it's going to be removed. There's no
there's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question. It's coming out and Atlas is coming down. That's how all of this shit is going to end. But not necessarily maybe this volume, but definitely by the end of next volume, that's how we're looking. And the fact that they've shown us the Staff of Creation just proves that to us. It's like, oh, the Staff of Creation's holding up Atlas. Cool, bye-bye, Atlas. It's like, you know.
Literally, when I first watched the episode, I was like, they said that, and I was like, fuck, that's how it's gonna happen. Like, they just told us.
Yeah.
They just told us.
And I will not be surprised if the staff is the first relic gained by the villains. I can see them getting the most benefit out of it. Like, I could imagine. It's like I put this in my reviews. Like, we know now that Watts was on the Penny Project, and I'm fear that he might get some tech to kind of make his own pennies. And of course, we also found out about where Penny's aura came from. And I'm worried with this unlimited source of energy that the staff can create, is that going to be the replacement energy for an army of pennies? I don't see kind of any benefit the heroes would have from having the staff around compared to like having the relic, the lamp around. So yeah, I think this is going to be the first one gained by the villains, and it's going to cause even more dread, so to speak.
Yeah. The fact that the staff is in the end of the intro as well is, you know, important, because they've literally shown us what it looks like. And it's like, well, we're going to see it in the volume at some point. And the only way we see it is if it's being removed from the vault. So... Yeah.
Well, my only question is if whoever becomes, like, if Winter becomes the Winter Maiden before the end of the volume, like... Because we don't know where the Relic of Knowledge is right now. Supposedly Oscar has it, but I didn't see it on his person in this episode.
He's hiding it somewhere.
I'm like, where is the Relic of Knowledge? Because they can't have put it in the vault yet, because Freya is locked in a hospital bed. She ain't going anywhere. So it's like, where is it? So I'm wondering if maybe that won't be how they do it, is like Winter obtains the powers, and then they're like, okay, let us lock away the relic, and we get a glimpse at that.
And if Winter does become the Winter Maiden and Ironwood makes his big gamma, like I was saying, that would affect Atlas and Mantle, Winter would not agree with that at all. She's still got her morals. She, as much as she's very loyal to Atlas, she's also very loyal to the kingdom as a whole. I don't see her agreeing with the plan, and I'm worried about how Ironwood will react to that.
Yeah. I've just thought of a question as well. How is there a bottomless vault underneath Atlas Academy when Atlas is a floating island?
It's like buried down.
How does that work? Like, the Atlas is like a floating chunk of land.
Nah.
How is there? It looked bottomless. I mean,
but well, to be fair, we said that about the Haven Vault.
I still call bullshit on that. Like, literally, that looked bottomless from the top, and then when you get to the bottom, it's like, it's not even that deep. Like,
saying that though, I think the Haven Vault is the best designed one. I love the but I think the Atlas Vault with the mixture of the dust, the rocks, and the high tech is probably the best representation of the kingdom in terms of the vaults.
I love the Haven Vault. It was pretty.
And I'm curious to see if the vault dimension is still kind of like a sandy area.
Yeah, what would the Staff of Creation be? Because I saw people speculating that like the Staff of Creation's like spirit, because you know like how they had Jin, like
the relic being,
like, Atlas. Like, you know, a Titan, like
true
Greek Titan, and I was like, that would be kind of cool. But then I'm like, wait, well then if it was like a Greek Titan, would then like the dimensional place that it is, would it be like hell, like Tartarus? Because you know, I'm like, is that what it is?
In my theory, I said that I was still under the impression that the relic was a spear, because we didn't know for sure what it was, a staff or a spear. And I was under the impression that it was the Japanese gods Izanagi and I can't remember the other one. And they created a land, basically. So maybe if it's something like that, it would be like maybe open seas, maybe. Yeah, I'm very curious to think now what is going to be the relic being, if there is one.
I'm not sure that there would be one, because it makes sense for the lamp being, you know, it's a lamp with a genie. But like for the Staff of Creation, I think that's something that the power is going to be contained within the staff itself, whereas the knowledge contained within the lamp, it makes sense that it comes from this being who provides you with knowledge. Yeah.
That is, unless there's more to the relic than just being an unlimited power source. Like, is it more like I can create anything with the unlimited power that I have, or is it just strictly like, yeah, it's basically a battery? I don't think we'll know until we get it, obviously.
I'm wondering if the staff is going to have the ability to do things like bringing back the dead or healing wounds or something like that. It's the staff of creation, so creation and life sort of correlate with one another. And I'm just sort of wondering about exactly what the staff can do, because I'm curious, like, how is it holding up Atlas? Because is it like a power source, like you said, or like does it? I don't know. I don't get it. So
I've heard like talk before about like, oh, maybe the staff can create life or something like that. I don't want that to be a thing, because I think that's a very risky item to have, a very risky power.
Thing to have,
definitely. Yeah, and especially because obviously as soon as that is like confirmed a thing, we're gonna have the fans saying like, oh, Pyrrha's gonna come back, Roman's gonna come back, everyone who's died come back.
They've been saying that for years though.
They're
gonna say it anyway.
Death still needs to be a consequence. And I think we're doing fine enough with like special semblances able to heal near-death wounds or something like that. But yeah, it's like everything with the relic is very concerning right now. I didn't think that we would get some stuff on the relic in this episode. Like as soon as we went to the vault, it's like, oh god, we're seeing the vault. And then obviously the talk about like its one use being taken away is like, I mean, it's kind of like they're foreshadowing it a bit too much, but I'm willing to wait until we see what happens. Kind of in the same way as like they're kind of foreshadowing that, oh, if Penny dies again, Pietro will die because of the aura. It's like there's some stuff in here where it's like the writing maybe might be a little bit bumpy because of this heavy reliance on foreshadowing. But again, it all depends on like what happens next. Doesn't mean that I'm not concerned and I'm not scared to death, but I'm very curious to see what happens.
The fact that there's only 6 chapters left, and I'm like, if they're going to introduce the staff of creation in that time, I'm like, they've got a long way to go before they get there, but also a lot's been happening in every chapter, so I could see it as being a possibility, especially if towards the end of the volume the chapters get a little bit longer, towards, you know, more like 19 to 20 minutes, and I'm just like, a lot's happened already. A lot could still happen. And it's utterly feasible that Atlas could be falling by the end of the volume.
Yeah.
And that's as the volume terrifying.
Goes on, as the volume's been going on, I've been feeling less and less confident that the Atlas arc is going to be another 3 volumes. It's like, no, it's like, we're going so fast, but it's still in a very satisfying way. It's like, no, this arc could easily end in 2 volumes.
Well, didn't they say that it was only going to be 2
volumes for Atlas?
Was going to be 7 and 8.
I've not heard anything like that.
And
I don't think they would. I don't think they would.
On a Ruby AMA, they said we're spending 2 volumes in Atlas. So volumes 7 and 8 are the Atlas arc.
That I'm surprised with, if that was the case, because I think that kind of telegraphs a bit too much. Like, oh yeah, we know things will end in volume 8, then we'll move on to next. I was like, that kind of telegraphs things a bit too much. Like, oh, I guess we would understand, obviously, like, the end of the volume, the end of the Atlas arc, move on to the next. But it feels like a bit too telegraphed to me. But yeah, this volume's been going along so a lot, and there's still a lot to go with 6 episodes. It's like, it's kind of hard to predict what is going to happen, even with these kind of elements that are shadowed. Which, where at this point,
I think it's going to keep snowballing, and things are just going to get worse as the volume goes on. It's not going to get better. It's going to keep getting worse. And that's sort of the path that they're heading down, is that it's just all downhill from this point. And it's like... Yeah.
I mean, especially with this episode's foreshadowing of Watts gaining access to Atlas security. That was a pretty big foreshadowing
through the SheNoob Dust Company, and Weiss is already thinking about that sort of thing, and she's like, I don't know what's going on, but I know it's connected. She doesn't know exactly what's happening or who's behind it, but she's like, it's connected somehow. The Shani Dust Company is somehow behind this.
And it feels like everything's kind of converging now in this next episode where we have Weiss's suspicions, the next plan from Jacques Watts and from Tyrion.
I'm so stressed about tomorrow.
Ironwood defending his seat. It's like, oh my god. I don't think I held matters as well with my my tweet about what is going to be the next Christmas cliffhanger.
I am so stressed, and here's why. 2 words: red wedding.
Yes.
I've been saying
White
since
wedding.
I saw the letter and we were like, we've all been invited to dinner. I was like, okay, so everybody's gonna die at that dinner. Cool. But here's...
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. Even I'm not like big into Game of Thrones. Even I know red wedding.
Red wedding, bad.
Red flag, red
yes.
flag.
But
yeah.
Basically, here's what I am thinking is going to happen next chapter with this dinner, is that I'm wondering if the council are all going to be at this dinner, and I think they're all going to get slaughtered. I think the council is going to get slaughtered at this dinner. Not necessarily any of the characters, but the councilmen themselves. So that essentially what Jacques can then do is declare himself king of Atlas. Because he's the only one with the power at that point. And he can I think he's going to strip Ironwood of his power at this dinner, take out the rest of the council and be like, and now I am king, bitch. Bow down before me. And he's got Watts and Tyrion in his pockets, so...
I see that being a possibility, like where the council, the other die or get injured. I don't think Jacques will come out like as the kingpin, so to speak. But I think what could happen is like we have another situation where there's false footage where Watts somehow makes it out like Ironwood has staged a coup. He's taken out the council. He's gonna take out maybe Jacques, and he's gonna make it out like Ironwood is really putting his foot down now and becoming this overpowering figure over all of Atlas and Mantle. And that's going to cause more tension with the kingdom. That's going to be like the final nail in the coffin. People will never trust Ironwood again. Even like Jacques may be in on this, but like he feels like he's going to be protected by Watts, which I don't think is going to be the case. But yeah, I don't see this going to end well for Ironwood. I think this is going to be where it goes over the edge for him. I just hope as well, like before that happens, we do get some of the other stuff. Like we see Weiss calling out Jacques for his plans. I very much suspect Mama Schneid to appear and Jacques to use her again as another low blow to Weiss, which fuck you. There's a lot of other avenues in this one.
With Mama Schneid, I don't think she's going to be at the dinner. I think Weiss is going to run into her sort of in the mansion before the dinner, possibly. And sort of like they're just going to have that kind of moment with each other. What?
I want Weiss to show her I want her to show her friends the house and be like, and this is where my bedroom is, and there's my drunk mom. My mom? Like...
yeah.
You say that though? You say that though, but I want Mama Schneid to be introduced to Weiss's teammates and her friends. And I would like that if that's like one of the rare moments that Mama Schneid has a true, genuine, happy moment to see her daughter in a better place. I think if we get like a small smile from her, that would just break my heart.
Yeah.
And also, I'm very excited for this dinner because also this is going to be our first scene with Winter.
Wow, Discord loves cutting you off today. You're frozen again.
Say towards her.
Oh, there we go.
And I want Winter to just go ham on him. I want to hear Elizabeth Maxwell just tear him to shreds.
Yeah, you froze for a good long while just then. We missed half of that.
I think it's still catching up.
Oh, jeepers.
Oh no.
Hello?
Yeah, because it's frozen again.
Oh my gosh. Oh, there we go. Hello?
Oh.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi?
Hello? Hello?
We can hear you.
You're lagging a little bit.
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
You're lagging a bunch.
Okay, I think we're back.
Oh. Man,
Marty's reset is back.
that's Spanish internet. That's great.
Hello.
We're
I
good.
see you
We're
again.
good.
Megan.
Good lord.
I think we're good. I think we're good. I think
My
we're
bad.
good.
I think it's okay now. But yeah, we missed half of that. But I agree with you in the fact that like it's gonna be the first time we see Winter and Jacques, interacting in the same room, and Mama Shanice, and I also realized Whitley is a thing as well. Ugh.
Yeah, Whitley has kind of been a forgotten element, which is a bit unfortunate because he's still an intriguing character in his own right. But at the same time, he's like, you can't really do much with someone who's being portrayed as a Jacques 2.0.
Yeah.
Is it a case of like,
When you have
how does he
1.0
come out of
to
this?
deal with.
Does he end up okay, or is Jacques going to go down and he goes with him?
It's gonna be very
I think that
interesting.
I still think that Whitley's a redeemable character. Like,
No.
I was one of the first people. As soon as we saw Whitley, I was like, I don't trust you. You are evil. And but I'm also now being like, I think you can still be redeemed.
Nah.
I think that we can show. See, I don't know. I hold out hope that he'll realize that his dad is in bed with some really bad people, and he'll be like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for world domination.
I think he could go down, but I what I'm hoping is because like I think we can all assume like by the time the Alice arc ends, Jacques will be either detained or deceased. So obviously the situation with the SDC is going to be in flux.
Yep.
Depending as well on the fate of Winter, we don't even know if there's going to be anyone around to take care of the SDC while Weiss moves on to what happens next.
I think the
that could be
SCC
where
needs
Whitley
to go
comes in.
down. Bring it all down. Let's bring the whole lot of it down. Bring Atlas down, SCC.
hang on.
Bring it all
just,
down.
Just bring back Klein. Let him be in charge while
Where
Weiss
the
is
fuck
busy.
is
Where's
Klein?
Klein?
Like, I'm so concerned.
I keep forgetting about Klein.
I know. I'm just waiting for Weiss to go to the SheNoob Manor and realize he's not there and be like, oh, damn.
I've always been under the belief that maybe Jacques sent him into the mines as punishment for Weiss getting away.
I mean, he is the Seven Dwarves.
Exactly, yeah. Send him down to the mines where the illusion fits.
I'm very worried about Klein. I miss him.
No.
Yeah, I think the whole episode is going to focus on the dinner, everything that happens around it, and then we are going to be kicked in the nuts, kicked in everywhere as the episode ends, and we have to kind of bottle on that for Christmas.
Something extremely shocking is going to go down at this dinner, and nobody's going to be ready for it. And it's just, I'm expecting a lot of tense atmosphere in this episode.
Yeah.
I'm not going to breathe the whole episode.
No, I'm just not going to breathe. I'm just going to be sitting here like, it's going to happen. I'm waiting for it.
Just be thankful we don't have to wait 3 weeks. I'm still scarred by Volume 3. That was such a painful wait.
That was
horrible.
Horrific. And then, like, the episode
and then we come
that
back
we
into
got,
a flashback.
Yeah, was a whole episode of flashbacks. So we didn't even get to see what happened next. And then we had to wait another week. And it was like, come on! It was just cruel.
It's painful because, like, oh, the episode ends. Celebrate Christmas. The episode comes back. Oh, an early birthday present for me. Oh, wait, no. We're going straight into some dread and chaos and fighting. And, oh, my God.
Yep. Yeah, the fact that goodness, the fact that chapter 8 is the chapter before the break is not arbitrary. They've done that deliberately, and something huge is going down in this chapter, and then they're gonna make us wait 2 weeks to see what the fuck the fallout's gonna be. But yeah, I think
especially because there was also a tweet that Kim sent out because obviously she's still keeping track of Ruby things, and she said like as something along the lines of like chapter 7, really good stuff. But chapter 8, though.
Like, yeah, she was like, chapter 8's the one I've been waiting for. And I was like, you need to shut up, Kim. Please stop. You're making me anxious.
It's worse because we've had a couple of episodes now where like the crew have been building up for certain things. But sometimes they've been small things like, I think Michelle Sontag, she was excited because she was voicing Fiona. Obviously, some excited things in terms of like the cast. Like, obviously, the kiss. But no, this feels like the one where it's like, the breadcrumbs are being there, to lead us into an episode that's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be good.
Mm.
And then we're all gonna go into Christmas being like, that was the thing.
Yeah.
And like, we're gonna dwell on it all Christmas. Like, effectively, Kruby have ruined our Christmas.
We're all gonna sit down for Christmas dinner and we're gonna be like, where are the robots?
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna sit down at Christmas dinner and be like,
we're gonna have the painful Christmas family meal before Christmas.
mm-hmm.
Christmas with the Shnees.
They've done this on purpose, the fuckers. And we're gonna spend all Christmas dinner thinking about it, and it's gonna be terrible. Bad things are gonna happen. Oh gosh.
In the end, I'm waiting for it now. It's the night before Schneemas, and all for the house, not a creature was stirring because we're all tense as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. No reactor is going to breathe all of tomorrow's episode. We're all just gonna.
Which makes me glad as well that I'm back home in my own area, because I can better work on my videos from this, because I feel this is gonna be one to remember. I think.
This is gonna be me the entire time. I'm just gonna be like.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it. The anticipation.
Like the volume has been on such a good track record. Like, not just in terms of like the writing, the runtime, the character moments. Like, everything's really been hitting above average to really great. And I really hope that this is like the kickoff into the fantastic stuff. Because if it does manage to land its feet, this could be like Volume 6 was like what many were saying is like the renaissance period for the series after Volume 8 stumbled. I think Volume 7, if it lands on its feet, we could be in some really great future for the series.
Also, one thing I am excited for next chapter is possible formal wear for the characters. If they wear their fucking combat gear to this dinner, I will be mad. Do not wear your ratty ass tights and your skirts to this dinner, please.
I think if either Blake or Yang comes to this thing wearing a suit, the Bumblebee shippers will explode in glee.
Oh my god. I've always wanted in the show for the girls to wear something similar to what the 4 voice actresses wore in their formal wear poster that they made years ago.
Yeah, I remember that picture.
Because Barbara was wearing a gorgeous gold dress. I was like, yes, Yang needs to wear that at some point.
Was that before the Vital Festival dance?
I think it was after.
Yeah, it was after.
Yeah.
I know some people were like talking up like. I think people were talking up the big dance there, and it's like, I can't wait to see the outfits. And like, some people were a bit let down, especially I think like many people were let down by Yang's.
Yang's was pathetic.
Yeah, Yang's was a bit basic. I think Ruby's was fantastic.
Yang's was basic white girl, and I'm like, Yang, you're better than that.
It's like it's weird. Like Ruby and Blake had the best dresses. Weiss and Yang, the proper one and the party girl, they kind of lacked there.
Yeah.
And I think it's also going to be interesting for the guys as well, because the suit and ties back then for the dance was very school uniform attire. This time they could have a bit more of a personal touch, or it could just be black suits, colored ties, what have you.
I just don't want Jean to sit down at that table in his fucking armor. Like, I just don't want that to be a thing. If they go to this dinner wearing the same shit, I'll be so annoyed.
Imagine if he still had his old clothes. He would be going to a fancy dinner with the Shnees while still wearing the pumpkin pea jumper.
I know, he just shows up in his hoodie.
And his shoes with left and right underneath it.
Yeah, oh my god. Ugh.
But nah,
I
really am hoping that we get that.
Left and right on them.
I think they did before, but it's like, I really do hope that, even if it's not like as good as many of us hope it, I do hope that they are a bit sharper dressed. I mean, they could easily not and just like say, screw you, Jacques would do it our way, but it's like,
I know, but if they do that, I'll be so mad.
This is a situation where they do kind of need to play to Jacques' cards a little bit.
Yeah. Because this is politics now, you know? You can't brute force your way by showing up with guns and look at me, I'm a badass.
And they be like... the kids are like obviously like inexperienced with this stuff, but they will know that it's like, okay, there's a lot of things that could go wrong here. We need to make sure that things go as right as possible. Again, I just really do hope we get a suit for either Blake or Yang because I want to see the fans lose it.
Yeah.
I would think that would be fantastic. And there's already so much fan art of that kind of stuff out there. It's just like make that dream come true.
It'll be Blake.
Please.
I feel like it'll be Blake.
I think it might be
and also
Yang.
like I want to see like Oscar blush if he sees Ruby in a dress. I think that would be cute.
I didn't even think about Oscar. Don't take Oscar to that event. Oh God.
Oh my God! Please don't take Oscar. Holy shit! Leave him behind.
No. Bring him in. We've been
People are
leaving him out
gonna
for so
die at
much.
this dinner, Dan. Leave the boy at home.
Just give the guy a fancy lobster meal. He deserves it.
No, he can stay home and play with his fucking Transformers or some shit, and not be a witness to the red wedding, please. Oh my gosh.
No.
Oh, my poor baby.
Nah, I think everyone will go. I hope it's gonna be a very long build up to all the drama. So I hope we can get some charming antics. Again, I hope we would see Henry there, but I don't see him being invited for that.
Yeah, I don't see why. Yeah.
Nah, unless it's like a
Unless
huge
he's
gathering
on the
of like.
council.
It could be like a sort of dinner conversation with the council, and also a celebration of Jacques being on the council. I mean, the episode itself is called "Cordially Invited."
I know,
You
that
don't
reeks. This whole
You don't
episode,
say that if it's just like a gathering.
This whole episode stinks, and I'm like, it just reeks of foreshadow, and I'm like, the fact that it's called Cordially Invited, I'm like, oh my God, who's dying at this fucking dinner? Ugh. Like,
Yeah, I like a side thing. I'm half debating myself to wearing like my kind of suit and tie stuff for my reaction because I thought that would be funny,
that's
but
a good idea.
I don't know if I want to bust it out for something like that because I might
Do it.
panic and freak out. And,
Do it.
We'll have to wait and see.
That's such a good idea. The reactors should just all dress up for tomorrow.
Yeah. Dress up for the drama.
Yeah, I'm terrified. It's not gonna be good. Honestly, if nobody dies, I'll be shocked.
I'm not going to be too upset if no one dies, but I know for a fact that this is going to be the moment where we all say, "And here we go."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Is there anything in this episode we haven't really gone over?
Well, the one thing
We haven't
that
discussed
we
much
didn't
about
talk
Pietro.
Oh yeah, Pietro. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that I totally fucking called what Robin's semblance was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But like
I talked about in chapter 5 when she reached her hand out, I was like, that's her semblance. And you were like, no, it was just a gesture. It was just a gesture.
because it
and
felt
was
so
right,
arbitrary, and I was like, why? What did you? Why? But now it makes sense, obviously.
And it was also like the episode came out like the day after Arnold had his theory about Ironwood having the lie detector semblance.
Yeah, I remember that.
No. And so I remember like when those two things were happening like right at the same time. And I remember, and I think I said this on the Boopcast for chapter 5 that I thought maybe she had like a lie detector semblance and you like used her hand to do it.
I don't remember what you said. You say a lot of things.
I love the fact that she has that power and she's trying to go into politics. It's like, imagine if she did get that, and every conversation she has with like someone that she has issues with, like, oh, yeah, so I hear you've been making some disparaging plans for the city of Manchester. Like, no, I haven't.
I wish it made that noise, but it's a bit inconvenient that she has to be physically touching the person in order for it to work. Like, it doesn't work from a distance. But...
Yeah. And it doesn't seem to be as well like you need to have the person say a question or like say something as well. So it's not just like you tap them and you can hear what they're thinking. It's like, no, they need to speak it as well.
Verbally say it, yeah.
Which also reminded me of the comic that Nonsuch made. It's like, do you like Yang Xiaolong? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, you're in love with fisticuffs. What? No one.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I love that Robin's got this nickname shtick.
Yeah.
It's so charming as well. It's like, and some of the nicknames, like, you don't really think of it as like 5 o'clock shadow for Crow. It's like, Okay,
I love fucking
that's weird, but I like it.
It's fucking hilarious.
And it's nice to hear someone call not Blake, Yang something other than Blondie or something like that. It's like Fisticuffs, like yeah, a bit on the nose, but it's something. Yeah, I still think the best nickname that Yang's got is Firecracker from Crow.
Yeah,
because I think that's a very fitting one for her.
I need Yang and Crow to have a conversation. They haven't talked in 3 volumes. That's stressing me out.
That has been a bit of a detriment to their bonds. Like, they've not really had a moment like that since Volume 3. But you do kind of understand, like, in terms of, like, between the sisters, Ruby has the stronger connection to him. And Yang's also, like, really, like, attached to the hip right now to Blake for obvious reasons.
Is nicknames a thing in the Tales of Robin Hood?
It's not so much like a well-known shtick. It's like, I'm sure it would be something that he would have in some fictional works, but it's just like a very natural thing for Robin Hood because he's a very charismatic, a very snarky character. He says those things usually with enemies, I'm sure, to like rile them up. But yeah, it's not like a very common element to Robin Hood. But it's still very natural, almost in the same way of like, you're not just Robin Hood because you're a thief. You're Robin Hood because you have his charisma, you have his wit, just the sharp wit.
I also think that it's also to do with the fact that Robin just can't be bothered to actually learn their names, so she just makes up these nicknames for them. She's like, I don't care what your fucking name is. You're Fisticuffs. There you go.
And they're not all like negative as well. Like Wags is like, okay, you're kind of bringing up the fact that I'm a dog faunus, but it's like, it's kind of playful in its own way. Pipsqueak as well. Oh, the Pipsqueak is back. Yeah, it's something that I like, but it's not an especially poignant thing related to an illusion, but it's a cool little touch. Something that adds a bit more character to Robin.
Yeah. Because we all know she needs some of that. Yeah, anything else we did? Pietro, that's the thing we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was so obvious he was hiding Watts behind his finger when he was holding up
I
the
know!
picture.
He like picked up the painting and I was like, and there's Watts. Okay, show me Watts.
I know, I was really like, show me Watts.
Yeah, I was like, show me Watts. Yep, there
it's not as obvious as like, it's not as genuine as like when Crow like slipped the finger over Raven's face with a photo. It's like, no, you particularly covered up a key character's face in that photo, like perfectly on it. So it was like the only thing we see was like the rest of his body. But like, yeah, I can understand now why it's like where Penny's origins come from now, like why it's so
connected.
And I'm kind of glad that we got this element now where it's like, oh, if Penny dies, Pietro could die now because of the aura connection. Because yeah, there's been these complaints about Penny's returns, like it's not being discussed between Penny and Ruby. It feels very ham-fisted, some people have said as well. And people have been saying, it's like, oh, I guess now Penny, we don't have to worry about her dying now. They could just keep on rebuilding her. It's like, no, there's now reason to fix. I like that. It brings that kind of element back. And for as much as we only do feel so sad for him.
Freezing again.
Oh, hello.
Freezing again. Hello, there you are.
All right. So, I'm just saying. For as little as we know of Pietro, I feel so bad for the guy. Like hearing him say, it's like, to think of what they want to do to my girl. It's like, it breaks my heart, especially because I know of like Dave Fennoy from Walking Dead with the elements in that game.
He played Lee in The Walking Dead, and like every time I hear him speak, I'm like, oh my heart.
Yeah, specifically saying my girl. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I think we can all expect what might happen to Pietro.
Oh, he's fucked.
That's actually one thing I wonder is like
it says a lot about
nature of the like aura transfer machines. We've been wondering since Volume 3. If Pietro dies, does like Penny get the rest of his aura?
Maybe because
like, she has a piece of it. So like,
and then when Amber died, Cinder got the rest of the aura. Like, almost immediately. So maybe, and that would really make, in a way, it would make Penny a real girl.
I mean, the full maiden powers were an element in that, though. So whether it was the aura or the powers themselves is the question. But
it's kind of hard because then again, we didn't think. Yeah, we didn't think that this was a possible thing.
No.
Like we don't even know if it's like a power that you can do naturally, sharing aura, because it could tie into like how Pyrrha unlocked Jean's aura by like connecting in a way. Aura is such a strange concept, and yeah, there are some things where it's like could have had a little bit more explanation, but like at least in this sense, it just makes you feel so much more attached to these characters. And I'm fearing the worst. Also, hi Maria, nice to see you again.
Oh yeah, oh my god, Maria, yeah. And literally has like 2 lines and she steals the entire scene again. You know, just
why don't
like,
they just
why
like,
can't people do what they used to and fight to the death? And it's like, oh my god, I've missed you so much. Every time she speaks, she's a delight. I love her.
But yeah, there's so much dread in this episode, and going into the next episode, it's like I'm feeling choked now before we even get into it.
I know.
I've never been this nervous for an episode so far, this volume. And at the same time, I'm just like, can I get here? Can I get here? Can I get here? Can I get here?
I know, rip the Band-Aid off. Just put me out of my misery.
I'm literally a kid at Christmas waiting for my presents.
Yeah. Except this is going to be a present that we're going to open. We're going to open this present and be like, oh. I didn't want this. It's not going to be good.
Yeah. Do you have the receipt?
Yeah. Can we return this, please?
But yeah, this was a good episode. Hopefully the volume continues into next one and the rest of it. But
I have
please
every
be
confidence
please
they
be
will.
nice.
I'm very, very anxious about tomorrow.
But it's good that we can say that we've got this dread about what could happen, but we're still feeling so positive about the quality of this volume as well. Like props to the animation team, the writers, the voice actors, the music teams. Like everyone seems to be hitting it on point.
Oh yeah.
And it's making me like again excited but nervous.
The show has barely stumbled this volume, and it's been really nice to see that very consistent pacing.
Even with volume 6. Even with volume 6, for as good as it was and like how great it lifted the series back up, there were a few episodes was like, okay, it was okay.
Yeah.
But so far, like every episode has been like a 7 or above.
Yeah, easily. And it just keeps getting more interesting and more intense as it goes on as well. Like the story isn't sort of meandering or losing its way. It's very much focused in a direction and it's heading in that direction. And we're just sort of being swept along for the ride because there's a very, very obvious end goal with the end of this volume. And we don't know exactly what it is yet, but we're just along for the ride until we get there. This volume has very clear direction and a very clear target.
And at the same time, they've got this like sharp pace towards this stuff and like some very like high energy areas, but we've also had some good low moments where we've had character bonding moments, some moments of like offshoot fun. So it's been very well paced and massive credit to the crewbie.
Yeah, huge credits. Is there anything else we didn't cover? Cory, notes?
Let me check my notes.
The corner remnant's been alive for like 44 minutes.
Well, I did like at the start of the episode, like seeing the one thirsty mom with the embarrassed kid again, and then like those 2 kids in the alleyway.
The only one that's left. Because they killed the other ones.
Here's something we haven't talked about. Tyrion.
I was about to say Tyrion. I saw that in my notes.
Tyrion? What about him?
Yeah, we found out a bit about his history.
Oh yeah, of course. So I like freeze framed the thing and read all of it, and essentially, it looks like Salem actually rescued Tyrion herself. So, which is terrifying, and also I'm very intrigued.
No wonder he reveres her.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued as to
how much of a bad bastard do you have to be to have Salem come and personally pick you up?
Yeah.
And you know what? I like that the like Tyrion's backstory and like how he's connected to Salem is that kind of simplistic edge, because like Tyrion's such a base character. He has such a simple enjoyment of his hunting, his killing, his attachment to Salem. It didn't need to be as complex as like Hazel's or Cinder's, whatever it is. It's like it makes sense. I don't need anything more than we've got. And it's like, yeah, I got no complaints.
Yeah,
yeah,
on the
it's like
subject of Cinder,
I don't need anything more.
I find it very interesting that we've known Cinder for 7 years now and still have no fucking idea about her history or where she's come from and why she is the way she is. I find that very interesting that's been withheld for all of this time.
That is probably the biggest misstep they've done with her character, where we've not even had like a sample of her history. Like maybe like sometimes you get like an anime where they do like a small flashback, but then they fully reveal it in the future. So maybe that could have been something here where it's like we see a little bit of Cinder's past and why she, like as she says, she wants power. We don't need all the answers, but we have needed something over these past seasons.
She just kind of exists and is a bitch for no apparent reason. And I'm like, could you flesh her out a little bit, please? Like, she's not very well rounded as a character. She's just the villain. And before even Salem was in the picture, she was the villain.
I mean, we can all kind of like scope out our own thing, but like when you are such a prominent character where you've had caused so much trouble in the past, where you have killed a major character, we need to you than what we get at face value.
Yeah. Because we just hate her and we don't even know why.
God, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we know why she killed Pyrrha. That's one thing, but like we don't understand her character because we don't know who she is. She's this random bitch who seems to have a problem.
It says enough that when we were first introduced to Hazel, Watts, and Tyrion, we already knew a lot about their history. Like we knew Watts was a disgraced scientist. We knew Tyrion is obviously clearly loyal, a lunatic, like you said, like crazy as hell. And then Hazel, we learned over time that like his backstory, his reasonings. But it's like we got that in like almost like a volume for each of them, and they are not as prominent characters. They are not characters with as much impact as Cinder. They are not as widely popular as Cinder. And it is the biggest misstep they've done with a character. And we're going to get that at some point, but it's going to be a situation like, okay, I can understand it now. Just wished it was sooner.
Yeah.
And where even if we could have got like something inside material, maybe I don't know, like I don't know, like it's some kind of short manga chapter, like in the DC comics. If we have got like a small chapter on Cinder, that would be grand. Not just like relating it all to like everything that she's done. But that's the kind of area where, okay, if we're not going to have Cinder on screen for the moment, that would have been a good option there. And yeah, when we do get Cinder and Neo back, it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be bad in every sense as well. But as characters, it's weird that we can say we've grown more of an attachment to understanding of Neo than we have a Cinder.
Yeah.
Yep. It is weird, definitely. And they need to flesh a character out more. They've needed to do it for years.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just gotten put on the back burner every single volume. Been like, we'll get to it. And it's like, at this point, she's been in the show since the beginning and we're 7 years in. Could we get a little, like, justification for her, please?
The best time to have done it would have been in volume 4 when she was having this kind of rebuilding process, recovering from her injuries, building up her maiden powers. If we had a little bit of insight into her then, that would have been the best time. Because obviously she's on the shelf, she's not going to be the prominent figure, but if we can at least give us something for us to attach to still and think about, that would have been good.
Yeah. I also just want to see her outfit again. Because we only saw it for a little time. But also, where is she wearing that to Atlas? It makes no sense. It's golden Atlas.
She's a living heater.
She doesn't need it.
God, both of you are disgraceful. We need a Jeff Williams Cinder song. We haven't gotten a decent Cinder song since Sacrifice, and I'm still not even really convinced that is Cinder. It could be Cinder, it could be Raven. So, it could be interpreted a few different ways.
We will get one for her, but
Yes.
We've got a Neo song before Cinder
I fucking
song.
love One Thing. It's so good. But
I don't know why, but I just suddenly thought of like the name of Cinder's song would be like The Price of Power or something.
ew.
Ew.
Nah, it'd probably be something like Ashes or something like that.
Ashes. Oh my God.
Ashes.
And I'm not talking about like the Celine Dion song.
Fall down.
Good lord.
No, I was thinking the one from Deadpool 2, like Can beauty
Yeah,
come
that's the one I was
out
thinking of just
from
now too.
ashes?
Yeah, I love that song, Celine Dion. It's good. But yeah, anything else we didn't cover from the chapter? 'Cause we probably should wrap this up in a sec.
Well, Rooster Teeth posted a Schnee Manor banquet hall invite on the Twitter.
Oh
an hour
God, they did
ago.
not. Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to check that out later.
That's terrifying.
That reminds me of when they put up the Robin poster, like vote for Robin poster before things went down to shit.
Yeah, that makes me anxious.
That's a thing as well. It's like the social media side of Rooster Teeth promoting the series has been good, but that one time they let the Blake and Yang versus Robin fight slip out.
Was it Rooster
that
Teeth's
was
Twitter or the official Ruby account?
It might have been the Ruby one, but they're still kind of the same thing. I'm sure they're handled more or less by the same team. But otherwise, they've been very good, like promoting stuff, like getting these, like the small profiles for the Aesops, the Robin poster, and then this thing here now.
You're invited.
Oh, your question was to me, yeah.
Schnee Manor Banquet Hall. Ugh,
Oh. Okay, you know what? Because of that, I think I am gonna dress up now for this reaction.
And then there's scribble writing.
If I'm given an invitation.
Yeah, there's scribbles which are illegible. I don't like this. This stinks to me. Dinner will be served tomorrow. Kindly RSVP by replying with a snowflake. Fuck off, Ruby. Oh my god.
Okay, yep. Okay, fine. If you give me an invitation, I'll dress up.
Oh god.
Oh boy.
I don't like it.
Merry Christmas.
Fuck off. I don't want this present. This is not what I asked for. Oh my god, I'm so...
Can we have the Grinch?
Yeah.
I'd rather have the Grinch than Jacques.
I'm literally so anxious about tomorrow.
I know, it's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be fun.
The only other thing I have in my notes that I just wanted to say is that in my notes I wrote that Penny's a Horcrux. Because she kind of is.
Wow.
Think about it.
Oh, we don't talk about Harry Potter right now.
Oh,
yeah,
true.
Don't bring that up. You'll open up a whole other can of worms there. Bloody hell.
Can't you believe that Hatsune Miku made Harry Potter?
Wow, so great.
Well. Oh, okay, we need to wrap this shit up. Oh, predictions. Any other predictions besides terrible, terrible, terrible things?
I mean,
there's gonna be some shit moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna give us a couple of kind of cute moments, and then they're going to tear our world apart. Like,
yeah.
Pretty much.
This is if Sparks was the equivalent of a 4 2.0, I think this episode is going to be the Destiny 2.0, where we have a very lighthearted, very fun moments at times, and then they're going to kick us right hard, and then we're going into the Christmas period with a lot of dread.
Yep. Definitely. And it's going to ruin our whole Christmas, and it's all we're going to think about is the fact that, oh, wow, that chapter 8, huh? That was bad.
Merry Christmas. Screw you all.
Okay. So, Bowtie Dan, Chozo says.
I don't think I have a bow tie. I am not good with ties. I might just do suit and the jacket.
Well,
we'll see.
I'm anxious about tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it and dreading it at the same time. Because then I know whatever happens, it's 2 weeks before we see what happens next. So that's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be fun trying to deal with it on Twitter and all our Discord stuff and all that.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be
Here's to some happy holidays.
Watching the fallout from it. But with regards to the Boopcast, we're going to continue over the break week. So next week it will just be Cory and I discussing the mid-season finale. And then the week after that it will be the break week. We're going to have Larissa and Dawn on from the Corner of Remnant because they won't be doing a Corner of Remnant that week.
Yay!
The Corner of Boopcast.
The Corner of Boopcast, yes. The Boop of Remnant.
that just makes it sound like Nora's overtaken.
Yeah,
I am the queen of Remnant.
It's like the blip from the Avengers. It's the Boop of Remnant.
Oh, instead of it's boop.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so
oh my
we'll
god,
be
the
doing
God of
that.
Darkness would have been so much cuter if he'd done that.
All right, let's wrap this fucking thing up, shall we? We're gonna go raid the Corner of Remnant. But thank you everybody for watching, and thank you Dan for joining us once again. Pleasure having you.
My pleasure. It's been an absolute blast. Sorry for the connection issues, but that's what happens.
Not a problem.
It wasn't terrible.
And I hope you guys also have a very happy Christmas, even with everything that's gonna happen.
And Merry Christmas to everyone. Try not to let Chapter 8 destroy your Christmas. It's gonna be bad.
Feliz Navidad.
Fucking
Feliz
brace
Navidad.
yourselves.
Be bad.
It's gonna be bad. Brace your fucking selves. It's not gonna be good. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This podcast will be up on YouTube about 24 hours from now, depending on how I get off my ass in time or not, and do it. But happy Boopmas. Good lord.
Happy Boopmas.
Oh man, I am so anxious. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.